Hey there kids, it's me, MrCreepyPasta, and before we get started on tonight's story, I'm just going to let you know about one quick thing, and that's going to be about an upcoming convention. I will be at a convention again. Oh my god, it's going to feel so good going back. I will be at MomoCon this year. MomoCon takes place May 26th to May 29th, and it will be in Atlanta, Georgia. I really hope I get a chance to see you guys. I haven't been to MomoCon in so long, for very obvious reasons for one, but also just because I don't think I was even there before. Gestures vaguely at everything. So I'm really excited to see you guys. I hope that I will see you all at MomoCon. I will have a bunch of posters that I will be giving away for free. So please come by, get yourself a poster, come see the show, come listen to Creepypastas. And now, on to tonight's story.
Hi Lily, it's me, Meredith. I hope you don't mind me writing in your journal again, but I saw a lot of that stuff you wrote about getting a demon inside you and punching your friend Jamal and the police arresting you, and I was like, oh my gosh, where was I when all this happened? And I thought you might wonder too, so I thought it would help to tell some of what happened to me before we found each other again. So if you don't remember, I was hiding behind the couch in that nasty house when I saw the whole room go red, right? Because there was like stuff leaking out of the walls that looked like blood. And then the blood stuff all ran together like Jell-O being poured out of a mold, but reversed, and it made those doggy things like what you wrote about, and they pounced on the lady and started eating her. That was totally gross, by the way. I tried to cover my eyes because I didn't want to see someone getting torn apart, but my arms don't reach my eyes, so I looked away instead. Hearing someone get torn apart is just as bad. I tried to cover my ears, but my arms didn't reach. I know doggies don't have lips, but when they're eating a person, they make lots of lip-smacking sounds. And crunching. And then I heard you and that Dave boy start arguing about stuff that I didn't understand. Dave yelled, "You promised me Pasher," which I know is your personal angel. I thought maybe you had promised to show him the angels. I remembered seeing some of them that time before I died when that girl that I thought was you but wasn't led me into the maze in my closet. Especially the one I remember looking like a skeleton wearing a beekeeper suit. He was scary. And then I heard Dave start screaming, only it wasn't angry screaming, more like terrified screaming. You know, I hate that I can tell the difference between the two. You probably do too. We're so alike! Anyway, he sounded like I imagine a wolf on a nature documentary. I wondered if maybe he was a werewolf, so I peeked out to see what had just happened. And you were gone, Lily. I guess from what I read, that wasn't really you again? It was him. Or, well, it was you, but with a demon in you. Oh gosh, that sounds awful. I hope you're okay. I'm really impressed you trapped him in an egg. That was really sneaky. Good job. Oh, anyway, that boy Dave was on the floor with his hand stuffed in his armpits. I saw blood running down his side from his armpit, and I thought maybe you had stabbed him there. I mean, I couldn't believe you would stab somebody, but it had been a crazy day, and to be fair, that boy had it coming. I even yelled, "You had it coming!" But it came out more like a squeak. My voice sounds so tiny in the stuffed kitty you put me in. The boy didn't hear me. Or he didn't care because he was bleeding. I hoped it was the second one. One of the nasty doggos went over to him and sniffed something on the floor and then picked it up in its mouth. Dave screamed a bunch of nonsense words at it and swatted at the back of its head. I was sure the dog was going to bite his face off, but instead it whimpered and scurried away. The thing fell out of its mouth and rolled a bit toward where I was hiding. I thought at first it was a sausage or like one of those doggy sausage treats, but it wasn't. It was a finger. Like a human finger. I know you're probably used to seeing body parts and stuff, but I'm not. I felt sick like I was going to throw up, but I don't have a real mouth, so I couldn't. I probably don't have a real stomach either. What would I even throw up? I don't eat. I'm a doll. It was an awful feeling. Instead, I crawled to the other side of the couch, made sure Dave wasn't looking, and then ran for the kitchen, which I assumed was where you went. I looked back to make sure he didn't spot me, but he was just sobbing and picking the finger up off the floor along with some others and sticking them all in his pocket. You weren't in the kitchen. The back door was open, though. I tried to run to it, but running across tiles is apparently impossible when your feet are just a pair of stuffed paws. Also, the floor was wet and slippery. I couldn't seem to move, so I tried crawling instead, which worked a little better. I think my stuffed body soaked up some of the water on the floor, and it added a bit of weight to them, which also helped. But it also made it so every time I took a step, I could hear the squish sound coming from my feet. I know now that you were being controlled by that fur thing, but I didn't then. All I knew was that despite having just found me, you ran off and left me in that nightmare house with people getting torn apart by dogs and that crazy boy Dave with his fingers all cut off and bleeding. I called for you, but you didn't answer. You were just gone, and I had no idea where I was or how to get anywhere. Also, I was scared because I couldn't risk someone else seeing me walking around and stealing me. So I hid in some bushes along the sidewalk and waited in the hope that maybe you'd come back and find me. At one point, that boy Dave came running out of the house. He had one of his hands all covered up in bandages like a mummy, but he looked more like a zombie, all ghostly white and covered in blood. He had this crazy look in his eye. At first, it looked like he was staring straight at me despite hiding on my tummy in the bushes next to a bunch of trash someone had littered, but then he went off down the sidewalk muttering to himself. And then one of those nasty doggies came out of the house because nobody had shut the door. I watched it wander off into the woods behind the house. I hoped it didn't go and eat somebody else, especially you or Mr. and Mrs. Lake. Somewhere in the distance, I heard shouting, then sirens like either an ambulance or police. I actually got to see a police car drive by really fast with its red and blue lights on. I've seen plenty of police cars before since they always came when my parents died or that fire happened at the motel I was staying at with the Lakes before we moved to that town called Orange, but I never got to see one speed by like it was chasing a bad guy before, so it was exciting. After a while, several more police cars pulled up in front of the house we had escaped. I kept hearing the chattering on their radios. Someone said there was an assault and to be on the lookout for you. You, Lily! I thought maybe they were coming to rescue us. One of the officers went inside the house because the door was wide open, and then they started yelling to the others to get in there, and the chatter on their radios went crazy. I knew they must have found that poor lady's body that the dogs were eating because someone else went in and then came running out and barfed in the grass. Maybe they found the other dog too, I don't know. More police showed up and they taped off the whole house so nobody was allowed in. One officer started walking around the yard and I thought maybe he was looking for clues and got afraid he would find me and take me away and lock me in an evidence box or something, so I crawled away real careful. The hardest part was once the bushes ran out and I had nowhere to go but run across an empty yard in plain view of anyone who might be looking. My feet and hands felt heavy because of the soaked up water and I was covered with dirt from lying on the ground. Also, I ran into a bunch of spider webs and had spider webs all over the top of my head. Normally that would freak me out, but I'm a stuffed toy now technically, so it's not like spiders are gonna bite me and lay their egg sacs under my skin like they do. This is where things get kind of crazy. So I was running along the yard as best as I could when I heard this loud sound, like a whump sound, like someone dropping a box of books on the ground from an attic window or something. I dropped to the ground and lay there, pretending to be a normal stuffed kitty. And then, someone said my name. Hello, Meredith. You would not believe how freaked that made me. Nobody else should even know I'm alive, if that's what I am, let alone inside a cat toy lying in a yard in some strange neighborhood. I didn't move, in case they were talking to someone else named Meredith. I mean, it's not a common name as far as I know, but I'm not the only one in the world, right? There could be another living here. It's a big place, after all. It's okay, Meredith. You can move, they said. So I looked around. I only moved my head. Because what if it was a trick or something, right? But even if it was, I mean, they must have spotted me, I figured. Standing on the sidewalk was this tall man with blonde hair and dark glasses. He was wearing one of those big, long overcoats that goes all the way to the knees, but it was open and I could see he had on a red suit underneath. He looked down the street toward all the police cars, and that's when I spotted his ponytail and realized it was the same man who had come to visit my family when I was with them in the afterlife. It was the exact same guy. I got up and stood there looking at him. If I had a jaw, it probably would have dropped. It's you! I almost shouted, but it only came out as a squeak. Why am I so squeaky? Neighbor man! Nathaniel! It's me, he said and smiled at me. Poor Meredith. You look like you're in a pickle. No, I told him. This is a stuffed animal. Because maybe he'd never seen a pickle or a stuffed animal before. I was pretty sure he worked for the angels. Maybe he even was one. Like my guardian angel, watching over me? That would be why he showed up at my family's house in wherever we were, and then there in your neighborhood. He laughed. Well, why don't you let me help you? And then he knelt down and put his arms out. I walked over and let him pick me up. He felt really warm, even through his fancy clothes. Like his hands were so warm that I could feel my own hands and feet getting warm as the water I soaked up started heating up. It was a really strange feeling. Are you gonna help me find Lily? I asked him. He stopped smiling. Lily is in a dark place. She is dangerous right now. It's not my place to say if she'll find her way out, but if she does, it has to be by her own hand. I know you're not dangerous, Lily. I was dangerous and in a dark place once, I told Nathaniel. And Lily Bird stood by me and helped me get out. I could feel his heart beating. Did you know angels have hearts? I mean, of course they do. They must have the biggest hearts in the universe to hold all the love that they have for us, right? Except for that creepy skeleton angel. Skeletons don't have hearts, I think. Or if they do, they just fall out of their rib cages. Oh gosh, I'm sorry, that's an awful thought. Look, I know I'm being sappy, but his heart was thumping like the rabbit from Bambi. It made me feel calm to know he had a heartbeat. Are you sure this is what you want? He asked. He squeezed me a bit, and some of the water drained out of my body like a sponge. I could take you back home, back to your family. They're waiting for you, you know. Part of me wanted to go. The part of me that missed my mom and dad for years after the fire and was so happy to see them again. Not just happy, overjoyed. But there's another part of me now. The part that wants to be alive. And going on adventures with Lily Madwhip makes me feel alive, even if I'm technically dead. My family waited for me before, I told Nathaniel. Once you drop me off at Lily's house, can you go back and tell them I'll be home soon? But that I had to help a friend first? I'll let them know. He smiled again. Angels have nice smiles. At least the ones that don't look like skeletons. Can't have a nice smile if you don't have skin on your face. Truth. There's a reason I chose to be linked to you, you know. Is there? This. Your limitless capacity for kindness. Well, okay. I'm not trying to brag by sharing that part, sorry. I just think I should include everything that was said and done. Trust me, I don't take compliments too well, so I tried to cover my face with my hands, but they still didn't reach. He saw it and laughed at me, but it wasn't a hurtful kind of laugh like I was used to. It made me feel better. We both looked at the police doing their work, trying to figure out what had happened at the torture house. Ambulances were showing up, probably to pick up what was left of that lady the dogs ate. Lily didn't do this, I whispered. I knew it couldn't have been you. Even before I read your journal just now and learned you were possessed at the time, I knew it. I believe in you. I don't think Nathaniel believed it, though. We are each our own devil, and we make this world our hell. And then he sighed. Let's get you to the lakes. And I want you to know something, Meredith. You'll always be watching over me? He smiled one last time and put on his dark sunglasses. I can't tell you what happened next. I know that seems a little strange, but I promised Nathaniel I wouldn't tell. I can only say that there are shortcuts apparently still open between Earth and other places, and he showed me one of them. Kind of like the closets that took us to that maze place with the weird people. There are other doors that go to other places. That's probably how Nathaniel got to me so fast. Also, they can make you a little seasick, so if you ever go through one for some reason, try to do it on an empty stomach. Or be a doll with no stomach to empty. I can't tell you where the other side of the shortcut was either. Sorry, but I promised. I know you'll understand. We keep our promises, you and I. Anyway, there's a shortcut. It only took like a minute for us to go through it. I felt dizzy and wanted to barf again, but the next thing I knew, we were at the lake's house. I saw Mrs. Lake in the garden doing her flowers. I wanted to run up and surprise her, but I thought it might cause her to have a heart attack. So instead, I just gave Nathaniel a hug as best as I could, leaving a wet mark on his coat. And then I sneaked around to the backyard to try to get in through the cat door. Except there wasn't a cat door. I don't know why I thought there was. I was probably thinking of the old house we used to live in, me and the Lakes. The one I accidentally burned down when that creepy guy with the greasy hair tried to kidnap me. You know, the first time he came to save me. Remember, Lily? Maybe you don't remember. I seem to recall you passed out in the middle of everything. You're probably lucky about that. That means you didn't have to witness me at my worst when I burnt up the lady police officer. I'll never forgive myself for that. I'll always remember how it felt watching her turn into a fireball. I wanted it to happen. I know you said that creepy guy got into my head, but that doesn't change the fact that I remember my thoughts and wanting to burn her. Where was I? Oh yeah. I was stuck outside because there wasn't a cat door. I pounded at the door for a couple of minutes, but my hands are just a pair of fingerless stuffed paws. Wet ones at that, so it was kind of like slapping the door with wet washcloths. Whap, whap, whap. It didn't do any good. And besides, it turns out I beat you home thanks to Nathaniel's shortcut, apparently. I didn't know that at the time, though. Lily? I yelled, but my voice is so tiny in this body. I don't think it sounded louder than a meow from a small cat. Lily, I'm out back! I made it home! She's not here yet, said someone behind me. You're early. I was not expecting anyone to see me or talk to me, so naturally I panicked and spun around to see who it was. And there was a boy standing in the middle of the yard. He had frazzled brown hair and dark eyes. He was wearing jeans with big rips in the knees and a black shirt with the sleeves torn off that had a picture of a bunch of people's faces on it, and the words Queen Zurich and Operation Mind Crime. She'll be here in about 5 minutes, give or take. I'm new at this. He looked at me with this face like he was talking to me in my human form. Like the fact that I was a soggy blue cat doll wasn't a big deal to him. He pulled out a cigarette from behind his ear, and then a lighter out of his pants pocket and lit it. I thought maybe it was another one of those crunchy people or another demon. Who are you? I stuttered. He puffed on the cigarette and blew out a big cloud of smoke. My name is Roger Madwhip, and I'm an insurance.
Hey there kids, it's me, MrCreepyPasta, and as always, I want to tell you thank you so much for watching tonight's video. We're entering into the summer, which means for me, I have horrible allergies, and that means for you, you might not, but hey, I'm going to tell you about this anyway. My wife has a tea shop. It's called etsy.com/shop/ivory-monocle-tea. If you go down into the description, you'll find a link over to it, and hey, there's actually a whole bunch of new teas there available to help you with things like allergies. They've been a hell of a help for me. And if you've been watching me record live on Twitch, then you'll see that I'm not sniffling, at least not as much. And as always, I want to give a very big thank you to everybody who is on my Patreon. That means everybody. Everyone who is from the $1 tier all the way up to the, God, why do you pledge that much tier? But I especially want to give a big thank you to Jordan Alexander Sanchez, Stephanie Butler, Bobby Karman, Tristain Pelton, Chance Burnett, Diana Kraus, Kyle Reznak, Happy Birthday Ollie Whale, David Martin, scare-ington the unkempt, Angelus, Spanky, Snootchie bootchies, Autistic Spidey, Fruddy, Seclude, Lupita Galvan, That Creepy Chick, Tyler Fletcher, Rebecca Harper, Merxinum, Red Shadow Cat, Xavier the Cheyenne, Demix, Sean Cadieu-baker, 6 Gay Rats in a Trenchcoat, Turtleman, Rob Likes Sharp Things, Chaos Arts, Cryolinian, Zachary Gruffius, Lord Life's Best, Goreng Storytime Magazine, Maria Walker, Pain Gravy, Crazy Kid, Mr. Marcus Blitz, Aka Limchok, Dirt Diver 030, Matt Bach, Naughty Devil, Voice of Sands, Coffee Zombie, Matthew McNeese, Shelly J, Jeremy H, Reltazol, Ficomel, Nana, Deleted Account, Melted Lake, Tali Sue, William King, Darth Miver, Michael Ortiz, Satanic Aries, Nessie, Bardo Hawk 764, Lambda M98, Harley, Sashi Suzaku, Croconut 509, Kaylee Ambrose, Suji Campbell, Stricken, Freddy Krueger, Nicholas Sicardi, Happy Birthday Jason Wilson, Lisa Cottrell, Caspian, Hades Nephew, Tater Chip, Acid System, Prozac and Pancake Appreciation Society, Benjamin Welvart, Kiri the Sloth, Fester's Lampshade, Sky Harbor, Nico Kyle, Rafael Rodriguez, The Ginger Bros, Aaron Stormcrow, Daniel Polson, and Corey Kenshin. As always, you guys are the MVPs. Everybody who's on that list, everybody who's on that Patreon, everybody who's in the description, thank you so much. And if you'd like to join this list of names that I horribly mispronounce, head over to patreon.com/MrCreepyPasta. And as always, everyone, sweet dreams.